There we go. Hey there, this is R.A. Manard, Mitrava for Monks of the Way. It's 2 minutes after the hour, 3 now, and I will wait a couple of minutes to see who might wish to show up for that. And I'm currently making a message. Okay, so today is the Delusion Sutta, the Delusion Discourse, and it's really, really interesting. I went ahead and retranslated it myself because I was not happy with the way the concepts weren't completely laid out. And you can't make an exact word-for-word translation from that language to this language, American English, because they're just so different. There's our attached words. For instance, the mischievous boy. Mischievous boy is one word. So you don't have an adjective and then a word and so on like the English language goes. Plus, some things are backwards from what we would say them. And it is so different that you just can't. You can't make a word-for-word translation. And so I'm sorry that these people have really stuck with the concepts that the original translators went with, because the original translators went with whatever the monks said. And who is to say that the monks really understood? These are concepts that take a person a whole lifetime, and certainly multiple lifetimes to get with all of the teachings of Buddha, all these concepts. So we don't have any reason to believe that those monks knew all of those concepts. So there's bound to be delusion written into it. And I tried to clear that up in the Delusion Sutta. That's not meant to be a play on words, but I guess it is. And I don't know if anybody's joined yet. I should take a look. Certainly. I assume that you can hear me, that the microphone is working. I'll give you a moment to respond. I am asking if you can hear me okay. Not getting a response so far. This is the magic of a live talk on the internet, is that you get to experience what it means to be live, and this is certainly part of it. It is 6 minutes. Thank you. Glad to see that you hear me. It is 6 minutes after the hour. I think everybody that wants to join might already be here. I don't know, but we'll just go ahead. So, the delusion discourse. That's what it means in English, is delusion, that word in there in Pali. And it's worthy to note that some people have said that some of these words are not right. And I think it's because they have an expectation of what the old translator said, and it's not because they have debated it in their mind or they're ready to debate it in person, but that they have an attachment to it. And we could talk about that later, but I'll go ahead and start here. I've heard on one occasion that the Blessed One, and I'm thinking about changing that because I believe in this one also it says the bald-shaven monk, the Blessed One, not just the Blessed One, was staying at Savatthi in Jedda's Grove, a particular monastery. I can't pronounce it. There he addressed the monks that were there. He goes, "Monks?" And they go, "Yes, Lord Buddha." And Buddha says, "Monks, delusion directs the attainment of qualities that are not productive, followed by a lack of conscience, a lack of concern, compassion, and kindness." And I'm going to stop right there for a second because we need to understand the gravity of what he just said. Delusion directs the attainment of qualities that are not productive. So not that delusion runs you randomly in circles and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. By its very nature, it always directs the attainment of qualities that are not productive. Even when you find something that works accidentally, you are using delusion to get it and to believe it. And so you're still, even though it works, even though you're correct, it still directs the attainment of qualities that are not productive. It still drives you to ruin in one way or another. That lack of conscience, lack of concern, lack of compassion and kindness. Delusion drives this. We continue. In a person who has yet to learn and is so immersed in delusion, such view happens that is not aligned with truth. Within a person where he has yet to learn and his views are not aligned with truth, such urges happen that are not aligned with truth. In a person where the urges are not aligned with truth, speech happens that also not align with truth. In a person where the urges are not aligned with truth, speech happens. Oh, I already said that. With a person where speech is not aligned with truth, such action happens that is also not aligned with truth. In a person where action is not aligned with truth, where I lost my way here. A person where the action is not aligned with truth, such way of living happens that also is not aligned with truth. And in the one that's has a way of living that's not aligned with truth, such direction in life happens that is also not aligned with truth. And a person where their direction in life is not aligned with truth, such application of the way, application of truth in their life, is also not aligned with truth. And within a person where the application of the way is not aligned with truth, such transformation in deep contemplation as a result of causation happens, also not aligned with truth. It messes up everything. And of course, that goes back around to of course, I've stopped reading. We go back to the views. When you have that transformation in deep contemplation, it changes your views. You have a realization. You change. It's like the last click that lets everything happen. And then it goes around again. Now I'll continue. Truth directs, and it seems a little monotonous, but you have to follow it in order for it to really have the impact that it's supposed to. Truth directs the attainment of qualities that are productive, followed by compassion and kindness. So this is the other side of that coin. Truth directs the attainment of qualities that are productive, followed by compassion and kindness. So, in a person who has succeeded in learning and is so immersed in clear truth, such view happens that is aligned with truth. Within a person where views are not aligned with truth, urges happen that are also aligned with truth. Within a person whose urges are aligned with truth, such speech happens that's aligned with truth. When a person that speech is aligned with truth, action happens that it's aligned with truth. Within a person that's action is aligned with truth, such way of living happens that is also aligned with truth. Within a person where the way of living is aligned with truth, their direction in life happens also aligned with truth. Within a person where direction in life is aligned with truth, such application of the way, application of truth in life, happens that is aligned with truth. Within a person where application of the way is aligned with truth, such transformation and deep contemplation as a result of causation happens that is also aligned with truth. That's kind of a mouthful in that one, transformation and deep contemplation as a result of causation. But that's the translation. That's what those words really mean. And you can probably understand as well as I can why they didn't write it truthfully that way, why they tried to sum it up in some sort of an iconic word that maybe people would understand meant that, or maybe not. But it made it much more simple, much more easy to grasp. But Buddhist teachings are not just to be simple and easy to grasp. They're profound. If you don't have the same meaning, it's not the same teaching. So, and we're warned not to slander Buddha and his teaching, but I contend that it's pretty common. So we've got these things, one after another, that make a cycle. In case you probably didn't count, there's 8 of them. That's called the Path of 8, or the Way of 8, and it gives you a place to look at these different parts of your life. You don't just run through it and go, oh, well, logically that probably makes sense. Okay, goodbye. You don't want to just visit it like that and let it go. There's so much more to this. So you can look in your life and you can go, oh, not only did I see that delusion directed the attainment of qualities that were not productive, but I can see that my views that weren't aligned, that were delusional, my views that were delusional, went ahead and went to the urges. I had views that weren't aligned. There were urges that happened that were connected to those views. And then I said some things and I did some things. And the way I was living was directed that way. And my direction in life also bad, also not productive. Why? Because of those delusions. You can see that after the direction in life, the application of what you know is true skips out when you're delusional. Even though you read a thing and you go, you know what, that's probably universally true, yes, then you believe you know it, but you don't apply it to your life. It hasn't really clicked. Thinking we know something instead of really knowing it is a very big contrast. And then the last thing, that transformation and deep contemplation, the transformation goes wrong or doesn't happen at all. The deep contemplation is not correct, is not good, is not deep. And this, as a result of causation, is important because this transformation and deep contemplation doesn't just happen. You don't just, as I'm sorry that some of the Buddhist sects don't believe that, but it doesn't just happen because you're meditating and that's it. You have to live your life. You have to do it. You can't just sit and expect something to happen. And you can tell yourself that something has happened while you're sitting, because we're great at telling ourselves something has happened, that we are something or we know something that we don't really know that we aren't really. And as soon as you go out and you give it a go, you give it the test, then you know if it's true or not. I've had people say that they're beyond suffering now because they're so enlightened, but they're not going out there in life and doing it, or they're totally living in denial and living the worldly life of suffering. I see people that say that they don't have anger anymore, but that person, lives in a monastery or lives in a temple and only talks with people that, agree with them and that show them respect. And they have like almost no opportunity for anger to be stoked, for anger to come up. So how would they know if they don't have anger anymore? They wouldn't. They're not living their life. They're hiding. And it's worthwhile to mention that Buddha's monks didn't hide. They took turns and they all went out in couples to uh, talk about the truth that they knew with people and collect whatever they wanted to give them. So they were going out regularly. This was a thing. You know, most of the monks were going out doing this. They were not hiding. They were not just withdrawn from the world and that's it. They were living in seclusion. They had meditation every morning, and they went out and they did their stuff. And then they came in the middle of the day back to the monastery and they ate and they meditated again. And that was the rest of the evening. So that time was all theirs for meditation. They would gather, they would talk about the teachings, they would do what they needed to do to get in line with truth without the distractions. But to say that they were just quarantined and that was it, that's not right. They went out, they dealt with people on a regular basis. And not just people that were happy to see them and wanted to give them something, but also people that were very dishappy, very unhappy to see them and treated them with disrespect, even anger. It was not uncommon for monks to get hit in the head with a rock. I mean, things happen. This was the old world. Things were very, very brutal and people were very opinionated. You think people are brutal and opinionated today? Well, much more so back then. You have to remember, death was a daily occurrence all over the place. There was disease and violence that was pretty common. So, anyway, as far as the path of 8, you can look at these different parts of your life and go, is that really in line? Is that what I want it to be? Is that really being real or not? So, like your direction in life, you know, and it's not just a thing that you look at it and it's all alone and you go, gee, how can I change my direction in life? I have no idea. Well, it's right there for you. This thing is connected to this thing, which is connected to this thing, and it goes around and around. So you know, if one thing is deficient, work on it. But don't just work on it. Figure out where it came from. Is it because of your views? Is it because of the urges? Is it, you know, where are these different things connected? How do they relate to each other? And then you can see much more clearly yourself. Some people say, I don't even know who I am. Well, here you are. This is you. You can look in those 8 places, and that's who you are. You might not like it. You might think it needs to be changed, but that's it. That's who you really are. And most people are a mess. And there's nothing wrong with being a mess. You know, Buddha didn't just, contrary to some of the beliefs of the sects, he wasn't just born and he just popped out spouting truth, okay? He had problems. He had fears. He had angers. He had everything you could imagine. And he suffered. And he didn't understand it. So he was a mess. I contend that even Buddha was a mess at one time. And certainly, you know, if there are more lifetimes involved leading up to this, then certainly mess after mess. And so nobody has to think, you know what, I'm not even good enough for this. I'm not that developed to even use this. Of course you are. You can move towards it. You're ready. Everybody's ready for the path of 8 if they will just give it a try. So it's a transformative thing. It's a wheel. The image is a wheel that turns with 8 spokes. That's the image of this teaching, because it turns, it goes around. And the same thing with being a mess. Some people are very organized. They're very, I don't know what the exact word would be, but they're developed. And they were not always developed. You don't venerate these people as gods or something or divine whatever, because they are the same as you. I was talking with a person earlier, and I was saying that wisdom comes from ordeal. And an older person or a person that's been through these ordeals has gained knowledge and an understanding of the concepts of truth that they didn't have before because of what they've been through. So, but that person is not better than you because they're more developed in that way. They're just in a different place. They've already been through that. The difference between, for instance, being a teenager and thinking you know everything and you don't, and having life smack you in the face again and again with the truth that you do not understand, then being on the other side of it and then relating to a different teenager who's also in that spot. Um, neither one's better or worse than the other. They're in different places. So never beat yourself up because you don't understand a teaching, or you heard it and you thought you were applying it to your life, but you were really just pretending, or you were really just making a fun narrative for yourself that would bolster you, bring you up, make you feel like you are somebody important or whatever. These things are common, and you have to understand that when people get upset with you and insult you, want to abuse you, you should be trying to let it roll off your back, because it's almost never really about you. It's about them. It really is about them. And the same thing also when someone really worships you, thinks you're just the end all, wise and smart and everything else like that. Also, you should let that roll off your back, because both of those things can be so destructive to you inside if you internalize them. I'm not saying you shouldn't be grateful when someone pays you a compliment, but you can't let it get inside you. You can't think that's me. That what the way they see me, that's me. Because that's not the truth. And I mention these things in application to this particular teaching because we have those two things, that the truth directs qualities that are productive, and that delusion directs the attainment of qualities that are not productive. And of course, that delusion followed by lack of conscience, lack of concern, compassion, and kindness. And I'd also like to mention that I mentioned to a lot of people who say, well, how can I start, get everything kick-started? How can I really start moving towards compassion and kindness, a happy life, knowing myself, all these things come together in generosity. So if you're not doing some sort of thing that's generosity practice, a charity, your own charity work basically, so you do nice things for somebody and you don't expect anything in return, you're just trying to help, you feel compelled to do this, then that will kickstart all kinds of things for you if you're doing that on a regular basis. And as far as the way goes, this particular sect of mine, we mentioned that you should probably take half of your money after you're done with all your expenses and everything, and you've got extra money and nothing to do with it. Take half of that and do your charity work with that. Some people don't have a dime after their expenses. They're still in the negative, but they can still do things that are charity. They could read for an old person. They could help a person apply for Social Security. They could get a person a ride to the grocery store. I could go on and on. People have different gifts too. Some people can cut hair, and there's somebody out there that needs a haircut that doesn't have a dime to pay, and maybe thinks they don't even deserve it. Maybe they don't, but it's not about what they deserve. Life is not about what you deserve generally. Anyway, so in going along with this teaching, I want everybody to get a copy of it, because this and the Four Truths are the primary beginning teachings of Buddha. So grasping these two teachings are so central to understanding the rest of his teachings that you just wouldn't believe it. People throw Buddhist teachings out there like this is great and that's great. Okay, little bumper sticker statements, but that's not where you're going to find the real transformation is bumper sticker statements. They're not even really going to hit you the way they should and be internalized because you don't have the right place for them to land, basically, inside you. There has to be a place inside you for something, for you to get it, for you to transform. And plenty of people do have some empty space, and some people don't have any. I'm going to get to that in a later video, talking about transformation, because transformation is not, it's not easy, it's not painless, and it's not something you want to accept. That's the basic concept of transformation, is that otherwise we'd be doing it right now. It would just be a done deal. Bam, enlightenment right now. But we have so much in our way. We've built up so much, we've internalized so much, we've built all of these views about the world and ourselves, and so much of it is, sorry, but it's crap. And we need to address that. We need to address it right now. It's urgent because we suffer because of it. And we don't know what horrible thing's going to happen because of it. And we don't know how drastic it might be. We just don't know. Anyway, that's part of the Four Truths, and I'll get to that. It's been all the time that I'm supposed to take, probably even a little bit more. I want to open up to any questions. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Anything from the Buddhist perspective or the teachings or what have you in the Buddhist perspective. Happy to talk about anything. Happy to be live and have people that could ask questions. So if there's anything, just let me know. I'll talk about something for a minute while you ponder that or type it. Getting into a life practice, people think, well, I don't know if I can do that. And you already do have a life practice, I contend. Now, whether it's productive, whether it's good for you at all, even the kind of entertainment that you choose or the friends or the activities or whatever, you have a practice. Everybody has a practice. But it's time to take a look at your practice and take a look at the Four Truths and the Path of Eight and ask yourself if this is really who you want to be and what you want to do. I'm not seeing any questions. Hopefully it's not just that that the messaging's not working. It happens sometimes. But I'm going to go ahead and close off with that. I hope you enjoyed the Buddha's teaching today and the image there. Nice carnations there. Liven it up, little flowers for Buddha there. And you can actually feel free to watch the video and turn the sound off if you want to just zone out to the Buddha. Just a thought for you there. Maybe you don't enjoy that kind of thing. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I do want to thank you for listening. It's really nice to be able to talk live. If you do have questions later on, everybody can certainly message me. I'm certainly open to talking about anything and debate of any particular truth. What we believe and why we believe it. So, for Monks of the Way, this is R.A. Mitrava, R. Manard Mitrava, and I want to thank you for listening. I hope that truth will remove delusion in your life the way light removes darkness. Thanks again.